कस्तूरी तिलकं ललाटपटले वक्षस्थले कौस्तुभम् नासाग्रे वर्मौक्तिकं करतले वेणुकरे कङ्कणम् सर्वांगे हरिचन्दनं सुललितम् कंठे च मुक्तावली गोपास्त्री परिवेष्टितो विजयते गोपाल चूड़ामणि वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनम् देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः. We are reading from Srimad Bhagwat Mahapuran, and we are into the first few chapters of Canto 10. Today we will take up the chapter 19, which is Gauon or Gopon ko Davanal se bachana. How Shri Krishna protects the cows and the gopas, the friends of Shri Krishna, from this forest fire. So forest fire is very intense, and these cows and the gopas have got trapped, and then they remember Shri Krishna and how he comes and rescues is a short story today. Before that, we read about the liberation of Pralambasur, Kalia's episode, how Krishna danced on Kalia's hood, an amazing dance performance. And then there was another forest fire where the residents had been saved by Shri Krishna. Before that, we had read about the liberation of Dhenukasur and Yanag, the residents, the Gwal were saved because they had consumed the poisoned water. And before that, we had also a very fascinating story of how Brahmaji also doesn't recognize Shri Krishna and he tests him, and how finally he surrenders to the Lord. And before that, Agasur, Bakasur, story of Yamlarjun, how Shri Krishna does the Ukhal Leela, his naming ceremony, Shaktasur's story, Trinavart's story, Putna's liberation, and that was after we completed the 5 chapters about the the birth ceremony of Shri Krishna that was celebrated, and why Shri Krishna descended, that story, how the Mother Earth was feeling so tormented, and the Devatas and Brahmaji, they all went and prayed to the Lord, who assured them that he will descend and liberate and protect. And the story of the marriage of Vasudeva and Devki, and 6 children were killed by Kans. The seventh child was transferred to uh, Nandagram, and the eighth child was Krishna, who was replaced by Yogmaya. So those are the stories which we have relished so far. And now we shall take up the chapter number 19. After that, the theme changes. The Bhagavad Mahapuran 10th canto will describe the seasons, the Varsha Ritu and the Sharad Ritu, and slowly there will be the background for the Vastraharan Leela, and finally the Maharas, the Ras Panchadhyay. which is supposed to be the jewel in the crown of Bhagavad. Srimad Bhagavad Puran is an amazing, is the highest scripture in the Vedic literature. Within that, 10th canto is so beautiful and uh, very iconic. And amongst those 90 chapters, the 5 chapters of Ras Panchadhyay, where Shri Krishna performs the Ras Leela with those many gopis, is something which words cannot describe. So, with that background, we will move into the bhajan. And after the bhajan, we will read the text. We will have some discussions. We will also repeat the glories of Srimad Bhagavat Mahapuran, which is so important to learn and relearn. So let us begin the bhajan, and I request Yatin ji to read the English translation before we sing.
जी भैया, हमारा ऐसो है रखवार. Such is my spiritual master, my divine protector, that there is no one in the entire world who is as strong or capable. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shankar are the governors of the three worlds, but they themselves are in the service of Mahavishnu, the husband of Mahalakshmi. Mahavishnu, in turn, is said to be the servitor of Sri Krishna. Says Sri Kripaluji Maharaj that that supreme God, Sri Krishna, is the servitor of the Guru. Such is the declaration of the Bhagavad Mahapuran. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. So this is an amazing hymn sung in the glories of Guru, and the theme of Guru is not easy to understand. We were so privileged that we learned that Guru is not how in the modern context we define Guru. We say he is a fashion guru and he is a singing guru. So actually, the meaning of guru is so different. Gu means darkness, ru means remover. So gumarati iti guru. The one who removes the ignorance and the darkness caused by the ignorance is guru. Grinati jnanam iti guru. The one who enhances the divine knowledge and imparts the divine knowledge to the seeker is guru. Giriti Agyanam iti Guru, the one who makes the ignorance fall down. These are the different uh, descriptions of Guru, and why he is considered the most important is what is explained in this, that the Lord Himself considers Guru to be higher than Himself. And that's why the Kabir couplet, Guru Govind dono khade kake lage lagu paye, Balihari Guru apaki Govind diyo bataye. So it's the Guru who gave the knowledge of Govind. That is why he is important. If Guru was not in our life, we would never have understood who is Krishna, who is Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, Vishnu, who is Balram ji, who is Radha ji, how many hundreds of pieces of knowledge we have learnt. And we did not even know that why the human body was given to us. We were shocked when we learned the human body was given with only one purpose, that we reach God. But look how we got trapped in the material world. And we started desiring, I want a family, I want cars, I want happiness through material acquisition, I want a beautiful house, I want all the gadgets, and the sky is the limit. Now they are talking about having a fleet of cars. Recently, I was in Toronto and I went to a friend's place, my wife's friend's place, and I had no idea that those people were so rich. And they had 12 cars, including Lamborghini and whatever, I don't even know the names. And they had a palatial house, they had a swimming pool, etc. So, which is great if we dedicate it to the Lord. And the purpose of acquiring all that is to glorify the Lord. But normally what happens is we become opulent and we forget God, because that is the power of Maya, the ahankar. It starts to build up and we want more and more and more, and we get trapped, little realizing that the life is like a drop in the lotus petal. And when we are struck with challenges, then we realize, yes, actually I can go any moment, so let me impart, let me implement the knowledge which I have received. But how many of us are doing? The verdict for Kali Yuga is to be charitable. 10% charity is compulsory for everyone. Sri Maharaj Ji made it very clear that even a beggar has to do charity. How much? 10%. If somebody is earning $100, he has to make a charity of $10 every month diligently without even telling anyone. The right hand shouldn't know what the left hand is doing. And how many of us are doing even 10%? The verdict of Bhagwat is even more shocking for many. Bhagavad Mahapuran says, Yavat briyeta jatre tavat swatvam hi dehi nam adhikam hi namanyata susteno dandam arhasi. How much money you need for your clothes, for your food, for your shelter, for your necessity items, that's all you have the right to consume. The rest of it, don't make a delay. Offer it to the lotus feet of Hari and Guru. But look at our lust. We keep building the fortune and we never get satiated. And the consequences are extremely dangerous for this kind of a tendency. But knowing this also, we don't do the charity. And knowing that charity is the yug dharma in Kali Yuga, every other austerity, etc., is not possible. But charity can liberate us. But we are so careless. With all these backgrounds, let us concentrate on this bhajan, sing together, and then take a vow that yes, I will try to abide by the verdict of my Guru. And I'm so blessed that we have got such a Guru who is the ocean of knowledge, and he has imparted all the knowledge to us. So let's begin. ऐसो है रखवार हमारो,
ऐसो है रखवारो,
ऐसो है रखवार रखवार हमारो.
Yatin Bhaiya, please sing.
ऐसो
ऐसो
है रखवार हमारो,
Please
जैसो
sing.
है नाही सकल विश्वमः.
जैसो है नहीं सकल विश्व महा.
ओ समरथ सरकार हमारो.
को
Samarath
समरथ सरकार हमारो.
ऐसो है रखवार हमारो.
ऐसा है रखवार हमारो.
तीनी लोक अनुचार रह जीन को.
तीनी
करतार हमारो
विधि हरि हर करतार हमारो
ऐसो है रखवार हमारो
ऐसो है रखवार हमारो।
नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। ऐसो है रखवार हमारो
ऐसो है रखवार हमारो।
सो अनुचर श्री महाविष्णु का
सो अनुचर श्री महाविष्णु का
जो कमला भरतार हमारो
जो कमला भरतार हमारो।
ऐसो है सरकार रखवार हमारो
ऐसो है रखवार हमारो।
सो श्री महाविष्णु अनुचर जीन
सो श्री महाविष्णु अनुचर जिन
तीन कह नंद कुमार हमारो
तीन कह नंद कुमार हमारो।
सो कृपालु अनुचर जिन सोई गुरु
सो कृपालु अनुचर जिन सोई गुरु
कह भागवत पुकार हमारो
कह भागवत पुकार हमारो।
ऐसो है रखवार हमारो
ऐसो है रखवार हमारो।
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे राधे।
बोलिए श्रीमद
श्रीमद्
सद्गुरु
सद्गुरु
सरकार
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 की
जय।
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 श्रीमद् युगल सरकार की
सरकार की
जय।
जय।
जय जय
Jai
श्री
Shri
श्री
राधे।
राधे।
Radhe,
जय
Jai
जय
Jai
श्री
श्री
Shri
राधे।
राधे।
Radhe,
जय
Jai
जय श्री
Jai
श्री
Shri
राधे।
राधे।
Radhe.
Our koti koti pranam to the lotus feet of Sri Hari and Sri Guru. Our koti koti pranam to Swami Mukundanandji. My humble pranam to each one of you. And now we shall read from Bhagavad Mahapuran, 18th, 10th canto, chapter 19, Gopas, Gaus, and Gopis saved from fire. Continuing after narrating the slaying of Pralambasur, Sukdevji tells Parikshit. Praising Balram, the cowherds then got so totally engrossed in their play that they did not notice the cattle comprising of the goats, of she goats, cows, she buffaloes, straying off very far deep into the forest in search of grass and water to quench their thirst. When Krishna and all others realized the absence of the cattle and regretting their dereliction, neglect of duty, started searching for the cattle by following the cattle footprints on the grass. Some distance later, all heard the wailing of the cattle who had lost their way coming from a thicket of dry green plants. Jubilant on finding the cattle, but tired and exhausted with the heat, the Gopas heard their names being called out by Krishna and started returning back when all of a sudden, as destiny would have it, a huge forest fire, common in summer, erupted and enclosed them from all sides. Anguished and dismayed, the cowherds and the cows prayed. So, this photograph is so amazing. We are into Brindavan, and in the forest you can see the cows, the she goats, and the she buffaloes, what is being described, and so many trees and river Kalindi, Yamuna, all those beautiful rivers. But the summer is a scorching, and when Pralambasur has been killed, the Gopas have rejoiced, they have praised Balramji so much, but they have kind of become oblivious to what is happening to the cattle, which has strayed off deep down into the forest. And when they realize after hearing the cries of the cattle, they are happy that they have located them, but suddenly the fire erupts, which is called the Davanal, the forest fire, and it is very intense, and there is hardly any way to escape because there are trees everywhere and all the trees have become so dry and they catch the fire so easily. So I remember when I used to go into ISKCON programs, I had met one Swamiji. I think that Swamiji was from Mexico, and this was when I was in Houston for a while in Texas. So I asked the question to Swamiji about all these, the dharma of the humans. And Swamiji, and I asked her some deep questions, and Swamiji's message was that this is what Prabhupada used to say: when we are caught into the material fire, because like the forest fire there is this material fire, so all the time something or the other is happening. The illness of our own body or the illness of a loved one, like in the last 2 weeks or so, I was in Bangalore and I'm still in Bangalore, and my wife underwent a surgery. And so the body is so susceptible to, so many issues and problems. And we don't know nothing about what is happening to us. So this is the material fire, the Davanal, the material, the blazing fire, and Davagni. And what is the remedy? There is only one remedy. Other than Hari and Guru, who else can rescue? But of course, when Hari Guru blesses, they will arrange silently some great doctors to help you or some great friends to give you a tip or the other, because Hari Guru works silently. But in such circumstances, it is the teaching of the Bhagavad which comes to their rescue, and that becomes so solidified in concept. So the forest fire, and one of the quotes he told me is, when we know that we are in the fire, we should try to come out of it and not question, stay and find out why did the fire break and why did this happen, why did that happen. Just get out of the fire should be the motto. And there is the story of the blind man and the lame man. So one person is lame, he cannot walk, and another person is blind, he cannot see, and they were caught into the jungle fire. So what the blind man told the lame man, you come and sit on my shoulder and I will walk and both of us can cross. So such a wonderful idea, and they both did that. They collaborated and they came out of the forest fire. So they say West is very advanced and India is a very poor country. Of course, the equations are changing. The way I see India rising and becoming rich is beyond imagination what we would have seen a few decades back. So, but even considering that India is very poor and West is very rich, you know, the the founder of ISKCON would say that they should collaborate. India will impart the spiritual knowledge and the science, the good part of the science which is required for the welfare of the human being, that can be brought to India. So that is how we can overcome the challenges. So much of beautiful knowledge we learn in this session. So let us now move on to the next slide. So let me hand over to, okay, I'll just read this one and then I'll hand over. So verse number 1099. Krishna Krishna Mahavira He Rama Mogha Vikrama Davagnino Dahyamanan Prapannan Stratumarhatha. Translation: O Krishna, the enchanter of all, O mighty hero, O Ram of immeasurable prowess, be pleased to protect us who are being burned by a wildfire and have sought you as our refuge. Verse number 10, 19, 10. Nunam twadabandhava Krishna nacharhantyavasaditum vayam hi sarvadharmagya tvananathastvatparayanaha. Translation: Surely your relations, O Krishna, do not deserve to undergo suffering. We have, as a matter of fact, you alone as our protector and ultimate refuge, O knower of all righteousness. So, such pleading words from the Gopas and the Gopis who have been caught into this forest fire. They have surrendered to Krishna and Balramji, and they are calling out for them to come out and save them. So let's see what happens in the next slide. So over to Yatinji for the rest of the slides.
जी भैया. The ever merciful Lord, answering their prayers, asked them to discard their fear and close their eyes. Accepting their Lord's command, saying, "Be it so," they all closed their eyes, and the Supreme Lord, with his infinite mystical powers, swallowed up the terrible fire and saved his devotees. And on opening their eyes, the cowherds and the cattle found themselves at the foot of Bhandir, Bhandir tree, as far away from the blazing thicket. Knowing that this was possible only by the Yog Maya Shakti of the immortal Shri Krishna, the cowherds then, following Shri Krishna playing his flute, returned back to Vraj, extolling the Lord's glories. And the gopis too, waiting for the sight of their Shri Krishna after passing the day, like 100 yugas in his absence, drank his divine sight in their eyes with supreme joy. Thus Krishna, giving darshan, doused yet another fire, which was of the gopis, tormented and burning in separation from him. So Devji concludes this chapter with the Gopas narrating the events of the day to Vrajvasis of Pralambasur Vad and Krishna protecting them from fire. Radhe Radhe.
Okay, so this is a very short chapter, Radhe Radhe, and in the forest we can see how the gopis and gopas are trapped into the forest and how Shri Krishna is appearing from the tree side. And then in the other picture we see Krishna swallowing the fire. Now we have never heard in this such magical feats, and so Sri Krishna has to be God to do that because this is alaukic transcendental, not possible to enact in the material world. So Sri Krishna swallows the fire and saves them. So such leelas of the Lord are so amazing. And while talking about the fire of the material world, when I used to go to the ISKCON temple, they used to sing this song, संसार दावा नललिधलोका त्राण्य कारुण्य घन घन त्वं प्राप्त सकल्यान गुणार्णवस्य वन्दे गुरु श्री चरणारविन्दम् महाप्रभो कीर्तन नृत्य गीता वादित्रमाद्यन मनसोरसेना रोमाञ्चकाम्प श्रुतरङ्ग भाजो वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् संसार दावा नललिदालोका त्राण्यकारुण्य घना घनत्वम्. Now I was mesmerized by this beautiful bhajan which talks about this blazing fire of the material world and how we are all caught into it. We know that anyone can go away in any moment, but we are so careless. We think we will never die, though we are seeing so many people dying. Yesterday in Jaipur, there was a tanker carrying LPG gas, and a truck comes and hits the nozzle of the tanker, and the leakage takes place because LPG is compressed liquid petroleum, and when it comes out, it engulfs the entire region in 500 meters zone, and then it explodes, and there is a fire, and the bus became heated, and the door couldn't open, and so many people got charred in the bus. Those who could break the glass, they came out. So life is so fickle, but we are so careless, and we don't surrender to the Lord and still say there is no God. It is all because of chance and Darwin's theory of evolution that this has happened. Everything is in our hands. So why worry about God? And don't go to a guru. They are all cheats and imposters. This is our impression. So we are very fortunate that we are not thinking in those lines, but material Maya is so strong, it can disillusion us any moment. So with that, we have concluded the text reading. Now let's go on to the takeaways. So in the takeaways, this theme of how the fetus grows in the mother's womb is described. So I have the text in Hindi. Whoever wants to read the Sanskrit and Hindi can do that. And then we also have the same narration in English. I'm very thankful to Gita Press Gorakhpur, whose text we follow in Hindi. And sometimes we take the text from ISKCON version of Bhagavatam from Srila Prabhupada. Radhe Radhe.
Shall I go ahead, Bhaiya?
जी दीदी प्लीज.
अथ 33 मनुष्य योनि को प्राप्त हुए जीव की गति का वर्णन. श्री भगवानुवाच कर्मणा देव नेत्रेण जंतुर्देहोपपत्तये स्त्रिया प्रविष्ट उदरं पुंसो रेतकणाश्रय कललं त्वेक रात्रेण पंचरात्रेण बुद्बुदं दशाहेन तु कर्कन्धु पेष्यन्द ता वा तत्परं मासेन तु शिरोदाभ्यां बाह्यघ्रांग अंग विग्रह नख लोमाचिस चर्माणि लिंग छिद्रो द्वभिस्त्रिभिः चतुर्भिः धारतव सप्त पंचभिः क्षुत्र दुन उद्धवः षड्भिर्जरायुणावीत कुक्षो भ्राम्यति दक्षिणे मातुर्जगधान्नपानाद्यै रे दधाद् तुरसम्मते Chete vin mutra yogarti sa jantur jantu sambhave. Bhaiya, can I see the slide
Yeah,
again?
you read the Hindi translation, the only the highlighted ones.
श्री भगवान कहते हैं, माता जी, जब जीव को मनुष्य शरीर में जन्म लेना होता है तो वह भगवान की प्रेरणा से अपने पूर्व कर्म अनुसार देह प्राप्ति के लिए पुरुष के वीर्य कर्ण के द्वारा स्त्री के उदर में प्रवेश करता है। वहां वह एक रात्रि में स्त्री के रज में मिलकर एक रूप कलल बन जाता है। 5 रात्रि में बुद्बुद रूप हो जाता है। 10 दिन में बेर के समान कुछ कठिन हो जाता है और उसके बाद मांसपेशी अथवा अंडज प्राणियों में अंडे के रूप में परिणत हो जाता है। 1 महीने में उसके सिर निकल आता है। 2 मास में हाथ पांव आदि अंगों का विभाग हो जाता है और 3 मास में नख, रोम, अस्थि, चर्म, स्त्री पुरुष के चिन्ह तथा अन्य छिद्र उत्पन्न हो जाते हैं। 4 मास में उसमें मांसादि 7 धातुएं पैदा हो जाती हैं। 5वें महीने में भूख प्यास लगने लगती है और 6ठे मास में झिल्ली से लिपट कर वह दाहिनी कोख में घूमने लगता है। उस समय माता के खाए हुए अन्न जल
आदि से
से उसकी सब धातुएं पुष्ट होने लगती है और वो कृमि आदि जंतुओं के उत्पत्ति स्थान उस जघन्य मल मूत्र के गड्ढे में पड़ा रहता है।
जी, राधे राधे.
राधे राधे भैया।
So these are the descriptions of how the fetus grows in the mother's womb after the soul enters the mother's womb, and the conception takes place. That is described by Lord Kapil, who is the avatar of Sri Krishna, and who is the avatar of God. Sometimes the avatar is from the Mahavishnu form, and sometimes there is a direct descension. Most of the avatars are the avatars of the Purusha avatar, so we can say the avatar of Vishnu ji, and that is Lord Kapil. But we can also say everyone is the avatar of Shri Krishna. So all the swans. So Sri Kapil is one of them. He is the one who propounded Sankhya-yoga, and he is imparting this knowledge to his mother Devhuti. Brahmaji has a son, Manu, and Manuji has 5 children, 3 daughters and 2 sons. Devhuti, Prasuti, and Akuti, and 2 sons, Priyavrat and Uttanpad. So, in the description about the lineage of Devhuti, we come to know that Devhuti gets married to Kardam Rishi, which is orchestrated by Brahmaji and other personalities, and then by Manuji and Brahmaji and all. And then, because Kardamji was very austere, he did not want to get married. So they get married, and then the child Kapil is born, who is the avatar of God, and Mother Devhuti knows that she is the avatar. So one day he sits on a pedestal and then he is imparting the knowledge. He has given so much of knowledge in his Sankhya description. So one of the pieces of knowledge is the development of the fetus. And just now we read that when the soul has to take birth in the uh, particular place, so the male and the woman, with their union, the semen from the man and the ovum from the female, then the conception takes place, and in the first day it is called the kanak, uh, right, kalal. And in the 5 nights it takes the form of a bubble, and in the 10 nights it takes the form of a berry, or fruit, and which is hard. And then it describes how the muscles come out, and in 1 month the head is formed, in 2 months the feet and the hands and different limbs are distributed, and in 3 months the toes, the nails, the hair on the body, and the head, the bones and the skin, and the other signs of the gender, and different other openings, apertures of the body develop in the 4 months. The muscle and the other seven elements, they get developed. In the fifth month, the child starts to feel hunger and thirst, and in the sixth month it starts to move about in the right side of the mother's womb, covered by a skin, jilly. And at that time, whatever the mother eats, the child also gets affected. And if the mother is eating the sour and the chili full, hot, uh, pungent food, that affects the child, and the different insects and the worms within that space also torment the child. So the child is in extreme suffering, and it is covered by the deposits of urine and stool. That is a description by shocking description by Maharshi Kapil to his mother about the development of child, which incidentally matches with the medical science. So we can wonder how Maharshi Vyas knew all these 5,200 years back, and it is written in such immaculate precision. So with that, now let's read the English one, and then we can conclude the text reading. Yes, please, Yatinji.
Jeev. Lord Kapil's instructions on the movement of the living entities. Text 1. The personality of Godhead said, under the supervision of the Supreme Lord and according to the result of his work, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of male semen to assume a particular type of body. On the first night, the sperm and ovum mix, and on the fifth night, the mixture ferments into a bubble. On the 10th night, it develops into a form like a plum, and after that, it gradually turns into a lump of flesh or an egg, as the case may be. In the course of a month, a head is formed, and at the end of 2 months, the hands, feet, and other limbs take place. By the end of 3 months, the nails, fingers, toes, body hair, bones, and skin appear, as do the organ of generation and the other apertures in the body, namely the eyes, nostrils, ears, mouth, and anus. Within 4 months from the date of conception, the seven essential ingredients of the body, namely chyle, blood, flesh, fat, bone, marrow, and semen, come into existence. At the end of 5 months, hunger and thirst make themselves felt, and at the end of 6 months, the fetus enclosed by the amnion begins to move on the right side of the abdomen. Should I continue here?
I mean, you are the anchor. It's up to you.
Deriving its nutrition from the food and drink taken by the mother, the fetus grows and remains in that abominable residence of stools and urine, which is the breeding place of all kinds of worms. Bitten again and again all over the body by the hungry worms in the abdomen itself, the child suffers terrible agony because of his tenderness. He thus becomes unconscious moment after moment because of the terrible condition. Owing to the mother's eating bitter, pungent foodstuffs, or food which is too salty or too sour, the body of the child incessantly suffers pain which are almost intolerable. Placed within the amnion and covered outside by the intestines, the child remains lying on one side of the abdomen, his head turned towards his belly, and his back and neck arched like a bow. Radhe Radhe.
So, Radhe Radhe. So, those of us who have not read this before, we would have read it actually in the third canto. It is there. So, but we may have forgotten. But this is a great reminder that what is the nature of Bhagavad Mahapuran? Such precise knowledge written by Sri Vedavyas, who divided the Vedas into four: Rig Ved, Yajur Ved, Sam Ved, and Atharva Ved. Uh, because to meet the classification of Chaturhotra worship of Hota and Adhravayu and those classifications, which is like the ritualistic uh, knowledge. And also because Vedas, very few people are eligible to read Vedas, he wrote Mahabharat, which conveys the essential knowledge of Vedas in a story form. And he also composed Brahma Sutra with 555 aphorism sutra. He also composed Bhagavad Gita, and he composed 17 Puranas, and 18th Purana is Bhagavad Mahapuran, and the total number of verses in Puranas are 400,000. In Mahabharata, it is 100,000. So much amazing feat of work. Obviously, we all can understand this is not possible by the human intellect. This is definitely above human. So, and everything is so precise. And it is a travesty that we don't take to Bhagavad Mahapuran, and that is why we can say that Bhagavad Mahapuran comes into our life only after the great grace of the Lord, grace of the Guru, that we are able to hear. And as far as the glories of Bhagavad Mahapuran, we shared the story of Atmadev, who was a resident near Tungabhadra river, and he was a prosperous Brahman. Normally, the Brahmins could be poor, but this Brahman was very rich, prosperous. His wife was very pretty. Her name was Dunduli, and Atmadev was a scholar. He was expert in strotra and smart methods of worship, and everything was going great. But then he was unhappy. Why he was unhappy? Because he did not have a child, and this lack of a son became so intense an element in his life that he became disconsolate, and then he went to a river and he wanted to sacrifice his life. At that time, he had met one Mahatma. He met one rishi, a sage, and he said, "Don't take your life because you're not supposed to take your life. It is such a great sin." And then he lamented, "But why should I live? I don't have a son." And the Mahatma was a very scholarly, accomplished person. He looked at his forehead and straight away made out that even in the seven lives he doesn't have the fortune of having a son. And he told him, "You have everything. Why do you worry about one point which is missing in your life?" But he said, "How will you know? You are a rishi, you are a renunciate. How will you know the importance of a son?" He gave him the knowledge, the lecture. Finally, it so happened that the rules had to be broken, so to say, and the rishi gave him a fruit that go and feed it to his wife. But again, the Bhagavad teaches us, look at his neglect. He just gave the food to his wife. He did not make sure that she consumes. And wife made all the scheme, and she called her sister and said, I'm not going to bear this child. This is what will happen when I'm expecting. My body shape will change and I'll become tired. I cannot do work. And she gave so many and reasons. And during childbirth, if I happen to have a problem, then I'm not going to have the child. And she gave the fruit to. She fed a cow the fruit. So all these stories we know, and we know the sister conspired that I'll give you my child, and his name was Dundukari. So this Dundukari, the son, and Dunduli told her husband Atmadev that this is the son who is born to us. There's all kinds of drama. I am cutting it short. And just to convey the point that the son did come in the life of Atmadev. But what happened? That son turned out to be the most cruel person. He would push the small children into the well. He will beat up people. He will steal money from others. And when he grew up so old, he got into the company of women of loose characters. And then he started to take all the money from his parents. And finally, one day he beat up the parents. So the father went away into the forest after listening to his other son Gokarn, because the fruit which was fed to the cow gave birth to a person which had who had the ears of a cow and the face of a and the body of a human. So his name was called Gokarn, and he turned out to be a saint. He gave the knowledge to his father that go and get detached and read Bhagavad Mahapuran, the 10th canto. He read the 10th canto, and Atmadev became God realized. And Dundukari, who finally caused the exit of his father and the death of his mother, when he beat up his mother, the mother went out and she fell into the well and she died. Now Dundukari had no one to check on him and control, so he became even more bold. He brought the five prostitutes home and started to steal money because they were ever demanding more and more money. And finally, those five women conspired and killed him. We all know the story how they strangulated him, and they put fire in his mouth, the cinders, because he was not dying, and they buried him in the courtyard. So he became a ghost. And when Gokarn came back to his village in the night in the courtyard, when Gokarn was sleeping, Dhundukari would appear in the ghostly form. And though Gokarn had performed Pindadan in Gaya, still he was in the ghost form. And he said, how many thousands of Pindadan you do, nothing will happen because my sins are so intense. So finally, Bhagavad Katha was arranged, and Gokarn ji sat on the podium and he delivered the Bhagavad Katha. And we all know how the ghost Nundukari got liberated, and the plane came from Vaikunt to take him there, and he emerged as a divine personality with all the resplendent dresses and ornaments. This is the glory of Bhagavad Katha, that a sinner like Dhundukari, who became a ghost, he can be liberated. Then why should we not take shelter of Bhagavad Mahapuran and benefit? So I thought I'll repeat this story because this is so important to drive home the point about the beauty and the glories of Bhagavad Mahapuran. So over to Yatinji for any participation and feedback.
जी भैया. Uh, Great session today, as usual, and we had similar story about saving Gopas and everyone from fire uh, in the earlier episode, and the similar thing happened here, and um, yeah, and the takeaways which you were telling right now, the in the great detail in which the things have been written in Bhagavat, and about how the process starts, and like how it grows. So it gives this, as you said already, that this much detail, and this piece of work is not able. I mean, it's not cannot be imagined to be done by a single human. So it is a divine knowledge given down, passed down on us, and the importance of Bhagavad Mahapuran. So we all know very well about that and the story you said. I have one, not a question, but I was thinking about something. So I don't know if there is any answer or some about it, but I mean, I will ask anyway. So I mean, Shri Krishna, I mean, when they were tackling this Pralambasur, Lord Balram and Shri Krishna also, and the fire started, like cattle went away, and the fire started. And fire, I mean, Shri Krishna knows everything, as we all know that he knows, he's Sarvagya. So he knows everything every time at all the places. So he knows that fire is there. So is it is it like a, and he I think he knew ultimately that he will save uh, the gopas and cows and gopis ultimately. So it is, I mean, I believe that it is some, I mean, I believe, yeah, but I mean, ultimately, yes, I came to this conclusion itself that it is some kind of his Leela that he's playing that he didn't know and he suddenly found out, and then he and everyone requested him, prayed to him, and then he swallowed the fire. So, yeah, I mean, yeah. So it was not a
Yeah.
question, but anything. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it is the most transcendental knowledge about the
Ji.
divine Leelas of Sri Krishna. So sometimes Sri Krishna will pose to be an human like us. Every act of his will be like how the humans behave in such situations. He will behave in a similar manner. Like when they say when Mother Yashoda was beating him with the stick, the way he was crying is exactly the same how a human child will cry, right? So he is enacting as if he is, and the amazing part is he actually does that. Means it is not a drama. He wants to become like a human and have the same experience, but at times when he has to show that he is Shri Krishna, otherwise our human mind, materialistic mind, is such that unless it is convinced that this is the person who is the strongest, who is the most knowledgeable, so time to time he exhibits that also. Like when Duryodhan said, "What are you?" So he showed his Virat form. So it is very difficult to bracket Sri Krishna why he did this, and so the answer will come when we constantly go deeper and deeper, and the Lord is watching, seated in our heart. Paramatma, Sri Krishna is watching, and the Hari and the Guru is watching. So depending on our appetite and our sincerity, he will reveal this knowledge, and the dirt of doubts, etc., will slowly start to vanish. Thank you.
Ji, yeah. Thank you. Sheila Didi, yeah, Didi, would you like to?
Bhaiya, I had a question. Kapil Muni, how many hundreds or thousands of years ago was he around?
No, because if you have read Bhagwat from the beginning, we are all talking about this
Ved
this
Vyasji.
and such question, that exact time history. Obviously, you know that I don't have a record of all that,
Sure.
right? Because there are so many personalities. So we have to dig into the study, and if we have such a question, we have to do research, because one kalp of Brahmaji, we are actually talking about this kalp.
Yeah.
So first thing we should remember that we are talking about the present day of Brahma. So Brahmaji has already completed 50 years. First of all, we should consolidate that knowledge, that there was the first Brahma Kalp, which happened when the creation began. So when the creation began, first time Brahmaji emanated from the Lord, and that is called Brahma Kalp, the first day of the first year. So
Ji.
how many years have been completed? 50 years have been completed. And in each year, there were 360 days. So now we are in the 51st year, and this is the first day. So to answer to your question, first we have to understand in the first day how many manvantars are over. So 6 manvantars are over. Now we are in the seventh manvantar. And then we have to count, okay, the first appearance, first avatar was Sanat Sanatan Sanak Sanandan. I think Kapil Muni is the fifth or sixth avatar. And then we can speculate. But is it so important to know the dates, etc., where we are, first trying to get the essence of the knowledge? Because that will become an extreme question. But if you really want to go into the history and find out, we have to
No, no,
do the research.
my reason for asking Bhaiya is, like modern science, it's only not that many years old, is it really? And now Kapil Muni had this knowledge, thousands and thousands of years ago. That's what I was trying
But
to
is there any doubt about it that this knowledge is eternal?
Yes,
So we are trying to compare with the modern science, and you ask a mechanical engineer, so please tell me everything about heat exchanger. And the person who has studied heat exchanger for 20 years, he also doesn't know many questions about the heat exchanger.
sure.
Forget about the entire mechanical engineering.
Yes.
So the material science, no matter how much they try, and now they are thinking that with AI, artificial intelligence, they will solve all the problems. But you and I know that this is such a fanciful imagination. Who creates the program in the AI computers is the humans, and humans' mind is limited. And if the human mind becomes unlimited, that is only because of the God's grace.
Of
So
course.
so so this is all very much known that the material science is telling. Like one Christian friend of mine who was very devoted, he said, Rajesh, everything has started 5,000 years back. And how many times we have read that this fossil is millions of years ago? Dinosaurs appeared. So even the material science, they are talking about millions of years, because uh, all these research of Stephen Hawking and all also talk about black holes and billions of years before the existence finishes and enters into a black hole. So if we really want to answer your question, we have to go into the material science, read Stephen Hawking's, and find out who is telling what truth, and then compare it with the Bhagavad, which is a very long drawn process.
Thank you, Bhaiya. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.
Hema Didi, would you like to say something?
Radhe Radhe. Oh yeah, only the other day I was watching a YouTube video about Western scientist. He was speaking about the creation, the different lokas. I may still have it on my YouTube history. I'm going to share that with you, but it's now, with modern science and Stephen Hawking's, they're now realizing that, creation, that it wasn't the Big Bang. It's coming out slowly and gradually. I just stumbled upon this on YouTube, so I'll share that with you. I'm just going to see if I can find it now from the history, but it's quite fascinating. It really is. And, I think it's a blessing in disguise for me that I didn't pay much attention when I was in school, that all of this knowledge, this true fascinating knowledge of creation, the soul, the different planetary, the tectonic plates, it's all coming together now like a big jigsaw puzzle for me. So I'm going to be delving into that over the Christmas holidays a little bit more. So whatever I'll find, I'll post it on to you. And if it's of use to you later on or in the future, then at least you'll have it at hand. Radhe Radhe, thank you so much. My history.
Okay, Bhaiya, I think
With that, we come to an end. Thank
yeah.
you all. Radhe Radhe. बोलिए श्रीमद सदगुरु सरकार की
की
जय.
जय,
श्रीमद युगल सरकार की
कार की
जय.
जय,
जय जय श्री
श्री
राधे.
राधे,
जय
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 श्री
श्री
राधे,
राधे.
जय
Jai
जय
Jai
श्री राधे.
Radhe.
राधे राधे.
राधे राधे.
Um,